Okay, welcome back. I believe if we get the save we left off on... It is right here. Yes. So we did the first half of Loot's route. And now it's time for us to start day 2. Depending on how long this takes, I might go back and try and see early and middle variations if we can still recruit Lou with Bamele still alive. And we still have the everyone dies route. And we can try and see if we can recruit Lou with both Bamele and Margaret alive. See what happens.
If you were staying by the shore, perhaps I could be positioned somewhat further back from you. And then the others could stay further back still. That would keep us safer, without having any major gaps of darkness between us and the shore.
I'd say that's likely our best option, and we don't have time to come up with any other way regardless.
Fine.
Settled on the matter, the three of us began to move away from the guide. He pays little attention to us, instead silently fixing his eyes on the water. I take my place in the middle of the shore while Margaret and Lou hover closer to the island's core on the line between dirt and sand. Getting a sense of where they are, I turn my gaze ahead. At first I think I'm being fooled by the fog. There are several white dots playing along the edges of the water. Dark globes begin to surface, and I see them for what they are. Eyes. So many white, dribbling eyes, gleaming sharply against their pitch-black bodies as the Nixie bob up and down. They surface and disappear in a loop, each time more sets of eyes and closer, surveying us more intently. Then they cackle. The sound is atrocious, gurgling then turning high-pitched as they seem to take full stock of us. The lights in their eyes somehow seem brighter as the first of the Nixie dig their claws into the sand and begin dragging themselves upon the shore. I plant my feet firmer. A shrill shriek pierces the air, accompanied by a telltale hiss. I whip my head backwards, toward the sound, and to be greeted by coal-black darkness. I cry out desperately into the void where Margaret and Lou stood.
What happened?
There's silence, then the best possible sound. Margaret's voice replies, albeit shakily.
There was a prowler in the woods. I didn't notice it until it was already too close to me. I dropped my lantern when I saw it. The light was enough to drive it away, but now it's gone. Shattered.
I swerve my head back to make sure the shore is still clear before I sprint over to release them from the darkness with my own light. Margaret stares down at the ground dejectedly when I arrive. Lou stands nearby. He avoids eye contact by awkwardly looking away as I approach the two closer.
We can make a small fire for light.
Margaret sniffles loudly.
That may work for now, but what will we do once we're back on the bridges?
We will manage.
I speak firmly, trying to assure her. I can't even guess how effective the attempt was.
Lou, please, clear some space while I gather kindling.
Lou looks startled at suddenly being addressed, but quickly nods and gets to work pushing away the leaves on a small patch of dirt. Margaret moves to help him, though she still looks terribly upset. I feel awful. It wasn't her fault. We dig a few inches down in the sandy soil before making an edging with the rocks to stop the fire from giving us a repeat of last night. I layer the fuel quickly and light a match at the base of the pit. Margaret stokes the fire with Lou looking on. The grass ignites easily and showers the area with enough light to keep anything else that may be lurking in the forest at bay. I release a discreet sigh. We're truly lucky no one was injured or lost during this ordeal. Keep that thought to myself, however. Hearing it would only make Margaret feel worse.
You should go back to your position, Kikka. It will all be for nothing if we can't make it onto the bridges in the first place.
Right.
I force myself to sound bold.
We're going to get through this.
Margaret attempts to smile at me. Lou views her empty expression for a moment, before turning to move towards a nearby tree. He easily scales it. Eh? Absolutely puzzled, Margaret and I watch each movement as he lifts himself into its branches.
I figured there's not much of a chance any Nixie will get a hold of me here. They won't climb.
His voice is light-hearted with an easy confidence. All right.
Well, I won't bother trying to argue with that logic.
Fair enough. Margaret has shaken off some of her sorrow. being in a better mood now. Good. I smile at myself. I'd like to believe that Lou will truly be safe from those predatory creatures this way. With the two of them doing as well as they can be, I cautiously back up to my original position. I return my full focus to the shore. As we feared, this is becoming a pressing situation. More prowlers rose from the water while my attention was on those two. They've surrounded the guide on both sides. The only way to gain distance from them would be to delve further into the island. Yet the guide shows no signs of giving up his position. He remains where he is, resolving to keep all the monsters near him in his sight. I grow more unnerved the longer I watch this. The guide seemed impervious to the dangers of Sinnlos. This is the first case where I can't tell whether he will continue to be fine as always or not. It is a distressing notion. As they creep ever closer, I can't stay silent any longer.
Your safety is most important. Consider retreating.
He doesn't face me, but replies.
I cannot do that. Nixie recognized signs of weakness. Backing away will only increase the odds of them attacking.
I grip my lantern tighter as I swallow hard. What can I do? As if to answer my own question, a thought whispers into my mind, and I look down at the lantern in my hand. I could throw it. As long as I don't let it go too far down the shore, it doesn't seem plausible that a Nix can take it. But if I do lose the lantern, especially after Margaret lost hers only moments ago, then... Throw it! I nod firmly to myself, set on the decision. I've seen the guide perform the move right in front of me. I know it isn't an impossible feat. Now something has to be done. I hitch my way over to the most advanced group of Nixie, drift slowly as they attempt to get behind the guide. I'm of no concern to them, at least for the time being. The guide spots me, and we make eye contact for a moment. Doesn't say anything and abruptly fixes his gaze elsewhere. It gives me the impression that he's aware of what I'm planning on doing. He's ignoring me because he doesn't want the Nixie to recognize a coming threat. I steady my arms and assume a strong stance. I stop for a heartbeat to take a deep breath. Then I jump forward a small way and toss my lantern towards the group of Nixie on the guide's right side. They're all caught completely off guard, practically wheezing as they scatter and dive back into the depths below. None even attempt to steal the lantern. That is a great relief. The guide seizes this moment to swing his staff at the group of Nixie on his left. Light edging closer to them combined with the general chaos disturbs the creatures enough to frighten them. The left group joins the right in retreat. The guide observes the water line, making certain they've all crawled back into the water, and then releases a small sigh. He walks over to retrieve my lantern off the sand where it landed, keeping his eyes fixed steadily behind him. Tentatively, I take a few steps toward him. He extends his arm forward, offering my lantern back to me. I've never gotten so close to the guide before. He hasn't allowed it. Being in his presence this way feels unclear. I don't have the words to describe what it turns inside of me. His eyes are expectant, impatient, and I waste no more time. Move to accept it, but I flinch before I can grasp it.
What's wrong?
His face hardens, scrutinizing the unexpected reaction. I banish whatever expression was on my face and take hold of what's mine.
It is nothing.
Lets it go, though does not make any attempt to leave. I don't believe it is because he's worried about leaving me in darkness. He still suspects something is wrong. Guide watches closely as I set the lantern aflame once more. Its light gently washes over me and I smile at the sight. This tool I hold is one of the exceedingly few comforts one can have on Sinnlos. I do not wish to part with it again. He is still here and I begin to worry as the guide intends to admonish me for what I've done. I have let emotions show on my face again because he starts to speak.
Keeping a hold of your light is crucial. However, if you took no risk, your only way across could have been lost. It wasn't an empty self-sacrifice.
You're welcome,
In your
guide.
position, neither option was correct. Neither was wrong.
Our enigmatic lead nods, and upon finishing up his thought, returns to his original place. It's as close as he will get to gratitude, without getting closer to him. I stare flabbergasted at the guide's back. By chance I was put in a circumstance that allowed our values to align, but never would I have expected him to acknowledge that I made an acceptable decision. I stopped myself from getting further distracted. Instead I glanced down at my light, and realize the glow looks different. I wince. There's a large crack wickedly curving up the back. I'm thankful that it still works. Still, I fear that it will not hold out until the morning. I look forlornly at the fragile glass surrounding the simple flame. In a way, this event has forcefully reminded me of how fragile my own life is. One slip could mean the end of everything. Regardless, nothing could be done presently, and we've got enough to worry about as it is. I cannot let this consume me. We will continue to resist against this lake. And the bridges appear. We can actually skip. Not much has changed. We reach the bridges. I do like that scene, which is why I read it again. Okay, so we're frantically getting onto the bridges. Lou looks as though his legs might fall out from underneath him.
Normally, I wouldn't ever say anyone on these bridges are lucky. But we are.
Indeed. Margaret chimes in, equally as amazed and exhausted.
I don't know how we managed to do nothing wrong. That feels far more fitting for this journey.
We treasure the moment of triumph a little more before the guide ends his silence.
We need to start walking. We've already lost much time as it is.
I quickly straighten myself out and mull over our current situation. I start to consider how we are going to travel now that we only have 2 lanterns.
Well, the 3 of us could walk together. If there's one person close by, I can't imagine it would make much of a difference having another. Furthermore, I believe we've all taken enough risks for each other already for this to not be a problem.
Margaret, her consideration touches me. I smile gratefully at her.
I think it would be fine if we all stayed together.
But will the guide allow it?
Okay, we'll do that then. Thank you.
Other than having a bit of a crowd as opposed to an entirely straight line, our journey moves ahead as it did the night before. The silent night creeps along as we carefully move through the thick fog, making certain not to bump into one another. Then my lantern blinks. It fizzles out. 3 of us gasp simultaneously, and I hold my breath like time will stop with my breathing. To my great relief, the light flutters back on. The air I'd been anxiously holding in releases as a sigh.
What's going on?
The guide is halted, but does not bother to turn around as he asks the question.
It was nothing.
I watch as he shifts his head back to look at us. The stare he gives us probing and deeply unnerving. He doesn't believe me. I return his gaze, my expression blank. We remain locked in this moment. I can feel his patience with me slipping away. He chooses not to spend any longer waiting for an answer that will not come. The guide faces his back to us once more. He acts without a word, but I know he isn't satisfied. Our small group shares anxiety-ridden looks as the guide moves ahead. I look down at my lantern. The crack seems larger than ever. I feel as though I am cracking with it. There's nothing I could do to fix it should it go out for good.
We need to keep going. We shouldn't speak of this.
I can feel that they're apprehensive over this situation, undoubtedly curious as to how it happened in the first place. However, this is not the time. I don't want to draw attention to this for fear of the guide catching on. Chattering with the Nixie bubbles up out of the darkness, and I gulp harshly. The thought crosses my mind that they too have noticed what just transpired. And let's move along. Prowler time. Are we? Yeah, I'll skip through some stuff. Why are the bridges this way? They can be burned into complete ash and will still rise the next nightfall. Yet this spot is less stable than the rest. There's a great deal of magic within. It's formed without an intelligent creator that would explain its treacherous nature. And seemingly arbitrary maze-like nature just spreads like networked webbing. Lou doesn't say anything on the topic, merely staring ahead. The guide breaks his cautious steps, testing the security of the bridge.
Where I am now is solid. You only need to reach this position.
We'll be right there.
I face the others.
To ensure that there is enough light for all of us, I will go second. We need to keep enough distance between each other to not break the boards.
Lou elects to lead and starts going forward, inching gingerly across the trembling boards. After there's some distance, I begin to follow, focused on keeping my movement steady. Margaret is the last to leave. The three of us carefully navigate the creaking, soggy wood. We attempt to keep to the guide's path in hopes that the boards will hold. I feel my foot lay heavily on a board. It bends hair-raisingly under me. I wince as I slowly step off of it. I wonder if we should be crawling on all fours to spread our weight over a wider space. That may make us vulnerable to those creatures. My focus is broken when I hear a shout from ahead. Uh-oh! Lou's foot has snapped through the bridge! Save game! Remember, it will just kill us if we do. This was Bamele's role when he was alive. Wonder if Margaret dies, Lou takes up the back instead of Bamele. Like Lou is the stopgap. Fill in for, whoever doesn't make it. Okay. Lou is okay? Thank goodness, the entire section could have collapsed. Margaret looks at us, clearly concerned.
A part of the board broke. Everyone is fine, however. You should avoid that section completely.
All right.
We're still in much danger as we stand here. I encourage him to begin moving once more. Make sure to skip over the broken board myself when I come to it. As I pass by the hole, I catch a bit of movement in the water. But when I look closely, there's nothing there. Alright, can we skip? Can skip. Now where do we stand now? Now, did our lantern go out? Yep, our lantern is now out. And the guide will let one of us go. With him. The other two have to stay. Good point is I need to save. I can barely drag the words out of my mouth as I look at him incredulously.
Someone who wants to live will share their light with no one. I will not share my light with 3.
He almost snarls at us. That feels like a different line from the last time we went down this path with Margaret. Margaret is completely frozen, her mind racing to process everything.
Then, what about 2? Could you please keep 2 of us safe?
The guide sharply shakes his head.
I will allow 1 and no more. 2 will be left behind.
Finality rings out from his words.
Lingering at a distance far behind my light will leave you vulnerable. The wisest option is to continuously move, even if it means going another way.
Beside me, Margaret begins to whisper something to herself. I can't make out what it is. Lou's eyes narrow as he observes the situation. A torrent of thoughts rip through my mind as I try to find some other way.
Kikka.
My body stiffens. The guide has never referred to me by name this way. It is jarring enough to gain my attention, even amidst the panic rising.
You are the most likely to survive. The offer is for you.
My eyes widen even further. No, I don't want that. I can't be the only one who... No. I feel like this is a direct result of Kikka's action to save the guide from the surrounding Nixie. That's the point where he realizes that their values and attitudes align. And as thus, that's the deciding point in terms of him telling us that she's the most likely to survive. There's horrifying resignation in their eyes. This cannot be happening. They should be going, not me. They should be the ones who remain safe.
My lantern broke because I foolishly dropped it. And I've already lost my glasses, so...
Lou continues to only passively watch with an unexplainable expression. I shake my head, refusing to watch them give up so easily. Turn to the guide's face one last time, begging him mentally. He is empty and unflinching.
It needs to be done. This is what it means to cross Sinnlos.
He's not wrong. The heavy words sinking into me as I stare towards the void that eagerly awaits 2 of us. The guide sucks in a breath, clearly disappointed.
Being without light is dangerous, even if you are close to another. The one who goes with me has no guarantee of making it across. You risk this entire journey being for naught. The correct decisions need to be made. Everyone should be aware of that.
His words cut deep. I have no logical reason to object to going if my only solution is choosing another for the same position. I thought I would be ready for this when it presented itself. I believed I had the strength. That was only what I wanted to believe. Noting that I haven't said anything despite plenty of opportunity, the guide continues.
I will not choose someone else, and neither will they. Can you do so? Who deserves to be saved, and who lost in your mind?
A pit forms in my stomach as the responsibility of this unspeakable choice falls on my shoulders.
Stop this! It isn't helping!
Let's just skip ahead. Having lost his patience, the guide points a finger at Lou, almost accusingly.
I've noticed the attention you've given him. Is that what this is about? Do you want to sacrifice your position to give him a hope of safety?
Thank you, guide, for being the route guider.
Or
the route
perhaps you would
indicator.
prefer the both of you being left so you remain together? Or does your relationship not matter after all, and you don't care who gets the chance as long as you avoid a sense of guilt?
Look over at Margaret and Lou, hot tears flowing from my eyes. Take
You
Margaret.
have to take the other one, guide.
He speaks with no hesitation and everyone stares at him. Surprisingly, the attention doesn't seem to bother Lou this time. He seems completely calm.
Kikka doesn't want to go, and I don't need you.
The guide audibly gasps at Lou's declaration. He doesn't speak either, not from his usual indifference, but because he's completely at a loss for words. Lou shrugs the reaction off, continuing on with a derisive tone.
You have your needed answer. There's only one person you can take. I hope that you'll be able to prove your keep by getting at least someone across.
Ooh. Savage. The guide's face contorts awkwardly. However, I don't get an impression of anger. Instead, it's almost as though Lou's words have struck a sensitive spot. Being as if we've played the guide's route, they certainly have. Without another word, he turns around and begins to walk down the bridge.
You have to go. He will take you.
Look over to see Lou encouraging Margaret to leave. Lou is nearly ready to start pushing her towards the guide.
Why would you do that?
She peers at us, vexed.
Because it felt right.
I chime in and Lou smiles approvingly. Margaret's eyes fill with tears and she scrunches her nose up.
Well, you're wrong. I hope you realize.
Nonsense. You deserve to live. I shake my head.
The decision has been made. You need to go. We will find our own way.
Margaret wipes the tears from her eyes. She fixates on me penetratingly, and I know that she doesn't truly believe me. I mirror her look with equal gravity.
Be safe, please. There isn't time left.
Renewed tears pour down Margaret's face, dripping in a subtle rhythm onto the already damp wood. She opens her mouth and begins to say something, however it catches in her throat. Just she doesn't want to say goodbye. I don't either. She looks down and her voice drops to a whisper.
Thank you both for everything.
She then turns around, trying to catch up with the guide. It was almost unbearable seeing her so hurt. She didn't want to sacrifice someone else for her own safety as much as I did. However, I still hold to my decision. Yet I cannot help but wonder what Lou is thinking, and how that feeling has become familiar to me, even though this seems unexpected. Both stand alone, consumed by a creeping darkness. I stare quietly at Lou for a good chunk of time. He laughs nervously under my gaze, and his eyes dart away.
Please don't look at me that way. I meant what I said. Besides, you promised to let me do what I needed to do. That was it, I'm sure.
Watch him for a second longer before releasing a pent-up sigh. Can't say he's wrong. Lou is stronger than most give him credit for. Lou nonchalantly stretches his arms out, his elbows popping with emotion.
We probably should start running now.
I look down, my fists tightening in contemplation. Can't let concern slow us down. I need to get him to the other side. I steel my determination. The two of us dash forward and take another branching path out of the bridges. We continue to race across Sinnlos, bridge after bridge. Many glossy arms reach out from the lake over the sides of the bridge toward our ankles. Luckily, we're able to pass by each one before any can grab a hold. There are moments here and there where Lou seems like he's going to stumble and fall. However, he manages to keep himself upright each time and continue forward. Hello! Our confidence is shattered as we turn down another path and are forced to come to a halt. The distance we see it. A mass of slow-moving figures creeping our way. I narrow my eyes.
Prowlers.
Hello! I turn behind me, only to see more nixies that begin to rise up from the waters. They stretch their crooked limbs across the boards. Droplets of cold sweat begin to run down my back. There is no clear path any longer. Even if we let a might of mats to set aside the bridge on fire, it's possible that not all of them will leave. Then we'd be trapped by both flames and monsters. It would also put the others at risk if the flames spread to them. I slowly slide my hand down by my side and reach for the hilt of my sword. Leave behind the broken lantern. That won't do anything for us now.
Stay close. I can at least clear the way we came so we can keep going.
No.
Oh? Blink in bemusement at the finality of his words. He rarely has the nerve to be so bold.
Swinging your sword will only give them another option to pull you down with. I've heard stories. Please listen, Kikka. Run away with me. We can make it.
Look over at the monsters who are now clambering over the bridges towards us faster. Then back at Lou, who locks eyes with me without a whisper of doubt. It's clear he won't let me throw myself at the threat.
All right. Since you're better informed on how to handle this, then, I will follow your lead.
Relief washes over Lou's face before it hardens again with determination.
We should go.
Alright, son. Show me what you got. I nod and turn to the path ahead, crawling with monsters. We sprint down the bridges together, into the fray of contorting claws. I duck below a nixie's grasping hands and jump over another reaching pair at the base of the bridge. I hear a small noise from Lou. With trepidation, but still running at top speed, I whip back to look at him. Lou is fine. He simply shakes his head and motions for me to continue.
I'm okay. Keep moving.
Right. If I don't keep moving, then I'll only be getting in the way. However, I reach my hand back for him to take. Being distracted by thoughts of Lou's stumbling will bring us both down. This can help. Seeing my hand wading ahead, past those of the monsters, encourages Lou even further. He pushes his way through and grabs hold. I grip him tightly and begin to run again. Manage to clear the worst swarm of Nixie on the bridges. Take a moment to savor fresh air as I slow my mad pace. Lou is gasping for breath. However, he's got an eager grin on his face. The Nixie did not follow us, but they are much too near for comfort. We meet eyes and both continue to run to put those creatures far behind us, still hand in hand. We start rushing across the bridges with renewed vigor and don't stop until the wet sounds of the crooked monsters are long behind us. Take advantage of the break to look around with more carefulness. There's nothing but the essence of Sinnlos, bridges, fog, and the lake itself. You can see neither the interloping guide's light nor the shore. We are completely and utterly lost in this labyrinth of ever-changing bridges. The atmosphere surrounding this place is even more oppressive and dense in the dark. Now that I've been forced to take in this situation, I'm engulfed by the sheer emptiness of it all. The silence is deafening. My thoughts turn to Lou. This is what he had to deal with before we happened to find each other. I felt so sure in my need to protect him, the boy on the brink of death, curled up in a helpless ball. I feel the cold sting of regret upon realizing that Lou is back in this situation again, thanks to my choices. I turn to assess him. He's bent forward on his knees, panting erratically as he tries to catch his breath. He's completely and utterly exhausted. Yet when he catches my gaze, he looks up to smile at me. I jerk my head away. I'm wildly uncomfortable that Lou is much more willing to smile now than ever before. I have no idea how he could be so happy over this. I even want to consider that he's acting this way for my weak's sake. I open my mouth to speak, but before I can put forth one word.
I think we're safe right now.
Oh. I'm stuck, baffled by his choice of words given where we are. Sinnlos is the Nixie's territory. They felt inescapable. However, this lake is vast. the Nixie are not omnipresent nor omniscient. Lou catches me looking for any signs.
I noticed that Nixie can't be everywhere in this maze. It's huge. Now that we're away from them, we just have to be quiet.
Fair
Of
enough.
course.
Quite fair. I feel a surge of hope well up in my chest.
We should take this opportunity to fully rest. Then we can progress somewhat slowly for a time. Capturing the attention of those beasts with loud steps is something we must avoid.
Lou nods. Two of us stand quietly together, regaining our strength for the path ahead. After a short period of time, we start to make our way across the bridges as cautiously as possible. He starts to move ahead of me. I follow behind closely. Lou stares out at the lake with a listless expression. He seems entirely entranced within his own mind. His expression is dark. His thoughts are almost oozing gloom. I make no attempts to interrupt, allowing him to process his thoughts on his own. Unfortunately, his true concerns are still a mystery. I feel powerless to help.
What are the odds the two of us would end up getting left behind by the guide again?
Imagine that. He chuckles, and a nervous smile of my own forms at the sheer irony of it.
I cannot say. It isn't exactly the same, however. This time, it was you who chose to be with me.
Fair point.
How could I not? There isn't anything else in this lake that's worth standing by.
Aww. The affection in his tone causes me to smile more honestly. We continue on the near identical pathways together. After a short comment before, Lewis stops speaking again. Rather aimless, but there's little sense of panic between us. Somehow the complete isolation makes it feel as though there are no threats. There's only us in a never-ending void. I force myself to shake off such thoughts. I need to remain focused. The end will come whether we arrive at it or not. A little later down the path, Lou suddenly seems to escape the snare of his mind once more. He gives me an inquisitive glance.
So are you still curious about me? I wouldn't mind sharing more, if you'd like. I can't give specifics, but if that's fine, then...
Just in case we get into a guide situation. Of course, please do. He grins at me. However, his face quickly falls. He has to look away as he prepares to open up.
I was the black sheep of my village. I wasn't ever able to accomplish anything. I felt like I never belonged. I couldn't go anywhere else. It wasn't possible for someone like me. I didn't exactly want to leave, though. I only wanted to feel I was worthwhile, that I was wanted, needed. I tried again and again to be that to someone, but it was pointless.
He chuckles bitterly.
Like myself.
I pointedly give him a frown. He ducks his head further.
You probably already know that much about me by this point, huh? I'll move on. During one of my attempts to be of any use, I made some mistakes. I got caught by people who threatened my village. I didn't have the nerve to stand up to them. I put everyone I knew at risk. I had a chance to make up for what I did, but I didn't take it. and now this is where I am.
His face falls to the depths of despair.
The worst part is, the longer I'm here, with you, the less I regret it. No matter what happens to them or me, I wouldn't ever want to change my decision to go with you. I'm such a selfish coward. At least I'm embracing that now.
Is this what led to you being here? Tried again and again to be that to someone, but it was pointless, like myself. Yeah. Oh. It was pointless like myself. Oh, I thought... That was just another joke, another self-depreciating joke of this. I thought it was meant like, I tried again and again to be useful to someone like myself. Or anyone. And I failed. Which, in that sense, would be, yeah, we're our harshest critic. Of course we're going to feel that way about ourselves when things are going rough. So, made some mistakes, got caught by people who threatened my village, didn't ever stand up to them. Had a chance to make up for what I did. Is that literally what led him here? This is where I am. Like he's supposed to be crossing the bridges, for some reason to make up for what he did wrong. And he turned around and went with Kikka, going back essentially the way he came. After one weak, self-derisive laugh, he sighs in defeat. I want to help Lou. Wish he could see his own worth. But my mind is distracted. Something in my story strikes me. When he first found him, he was heading in the opposite direction of us. Must have started from the other shore. There's only one village located around that direction. Oh.
Lou, are you from Hemmer? That's where I'm heading. It's currently under siege, and I've been asked to assist in pushing the Brigadiers back.
He wordlessly stares at me. His expression is clouded with unreadable emotion. After a moment, he turns to the ground and murmurs softly.
No specifics. I'm sorry.
Oh, well then. He tries to sound lighthearted, but it's clear that he's shaken. I try to offer him a sympathetic smile.
I understand. The people there will be all right. I will make sure of it.
Even with Bamele being dead.
That's good.
We can still do it. Lou acts as though he chose to cross Sinnlos only for his own sense of self. However, I silently wonder if there's more to it than that. Is he crossing to find help on the other side? Despite my curiosity, I couldn't ask him to elaborate. It's clearly a difficult topic for him, and I already agreed not to get specifics out of this. Reach over to him and gently stroke his back, from the nape of his neck slowly down his spine. He shivers at my touch, though it is in no way from discomfort. I caress him, and he allows me to. We walk together at a steady pace, the irrational sense of peace pervading for a while. Something catches the edge of my eyes, and I gasp quietly. There's a silhouette of something ahead. Is that land? The other shore? I have a difficult time believing what I'm seeing.
We were going the right way.
I can hear the astonishment in his voice as well. He goes from complete shock to confident.
We can make it.
Yeah, I nod eagerly. We increase our pace frenetically, while doing all we can to remain as quiet as possible. Lou remains ahead, a comfortable distance in front of me. Take a few turns here and there and keep running down a single bridge for a time, never allowing our eyes to leave the small sign of land for too long. The silhouette ahead finally comes into full view. I feel my heart pound with excitement. Even so, I refuse to allow that feeling to let me lower my guard. I need to remain focused. We could so easily fail at the final step. Yet nothing threatens us. Oh, then we miraculously arrive at the dock. Two of us immediately rush off the bridges onto the safety of solid land. Oh, wow. Before I can fully register what happened, You can hear the sound of Lou's airy, overjoyed laughter.
We made it! We actually made it!
That was easier than I expected. Pools of tears formed in my eyes, and I allowed myself to relish the joy in the moment. I'm so glad we made it in one piece. This doesn't seem real, but instead some wild, waking fantasy. As the rush of adrenaline escapes my body, I realize that we are alone. They make it before us and leave? Or...
The guide goes slow.
I breathe deeply and calm myself. Lou is correct. They'll make it to the shore soon enough. I have to believe that. That's really weird. I managed to feel settled again. This lake has made me start to count on the worst-case scenarios. Lou smiles contentedly at my calmness. When I catch his eye, he turns away bashfully.
Honestly, the further we went, the more it felt like I remembered where I was when I started. I never mentioned it because I didn't want to get your hopes up, but it worked. I knew which way.
Well, I widen my eyes at his words. A surge of emotion zaps through my chest.
That's incredible. You saved us.
Hell yeah, man. Good job. Lou awkwardly half laughs and rubs his arms.
You're the one who saved us. I just assisted a little bit. You're only saying that because you're kind and want me to not keep feeling worthless.
I know.
But it's okay. This is enough for me. More than enough.
I beam at him. His response doesn't surprise me at all. I feel quite pleased that he was able to admit that he helped at all. Wrap my arms around his neck and gently embrace him. I was gonna say that could have easily gone a very different direction. He readily eases into the hug, as though he was waiting for it. Lou wraps his arms around my back and presses his face into the crook of my shoulder while murmuring softly to me.
I'm so grateful it was this night.
Oh? The two of us separate, though we still stand close. He sighs comfortably, and his face cocks into a somewhat playful grin.
You know, everything that's happened to me before this point, well, that's water under the bridge.
I give him the most unimpressed look I can manage. I will never understand how he is content joking around at this nightmarish lake. Despite that, I can't help but the tiny smile that whispers across my lips because that is so purely him. Lou snickers. Even though I still feel there is nothing about this place to jest over, I can't bring myself to staunch his good mood after everything we've been through these past days. He deserves to be happy, and I will continue to protect that.
We shouldn't stay here. We don't have any light, and those monsters could notice us.
Lou's face immediately falls.
So this is goodbye. You're going to Hammer. I'm not.
All my thoughts crash around me. I had forgotten a moment that we did not have the same goals. I formed a view of the future where the two of us would stay together after all of this was over. He looks into my eyes with a strange, softened sorrow. I can't place what it is, but something about it causes a knot in my chest. I almost choke on my words.
Where will you go then? If you don't mind telling me.
He simply looks away. I wait for a moment. When he doesn't continue, I do.
If you have nowhere in mind, you should come with me. Where I'm going won't be safe yet. However, it will be soon, and I will defend you until it is.
He bites his lip, though finally is able to face me.
I'd like to. More than you know. But I can't. I need you to trust me when I say that if I did go, it wouldn't make anything better. I'm so sorry.
He looks the same as when I first met him, holding himself together because if he doesn't, he might fall apart. But now something within him is different. It's stronger than the utter despair of failure from when we first met. It's solid, unwavering, and accepting.
You don't have to come. I understand. Still, I'd like to see you again.
He makes a small noise, something between a whimper and a grunt. Lou nods.
I want that too. When you have the chance, come back here. I'll wait for you. I
Come back
promise.
here. I blink in surprise.
What? Lou, that doesn't make any sense.
He simply smiles. I suddenly get an urge to hold him.
Maybe it doesn't, but that's the only option we have. No matter how much I hate this shore, it's close enough and far enough.
I stare at him intensely, trying to understand what's going on in his head. He weakly looks up at me and waves.
Goodbye, Kikka.
In a blink, he's gone. I managed to just catch a glimpse of him dashing off into the darkness of the forest.
Wait!
I try in vain to call for him until my voice goes hoarse. Either doesn't hear me or doesn't listen. Lou completely disappears into the night. I stand there, stunned. Quickly shake off the shock and step into the forest. It's no use. He's not on the pathway and there's no trace of where he could be. He's gone. I realize a tear is falling down my cheek. Wipe off the errant tear and ball my hands into fists. I vow to myself that no matter what happens, I will return to this lake for him. I have to find him. I have to. This can't be the last time. Lou, please wait for me. I hurried to her mare as quickly as I could. I already failed to help another during my journey, and could not afford to fail the villagers. They were grateful to see me, but it was a desperate situation indeed. Urgency meant that my mind was occupied with other matters. I worked tirelessly to aid Hamer's own guards in forcing back the brigadiers. But during the moments of calm and when the sun went down, I would remember the lake. The villagers were alarmed when I arrived on my own, but it did not take them long to guess what must have happened to Bemele. Having to recount the terrible story was almost more than I could endure. Yet I know that it will be even worse when I must tell my fellow guards back home. They deserve to hear the truth from me, regardless of how I feel. After putting Sinnlos behind her, Margaret explained where she was originally from, though she had no plans on returning. Despite leaving everything she knew, Margaret boldly looks toward the future. I respect her for her bravery, and I hope for nothing more than the best. I have not heard nor seen the guide since then, who remained obscured in that realm of fog and fear, mysterious light off in the distance, that is ever out of reach of the real world. Then, once the situation was stable enough for me to take some time for myself. Oh! I arrive on the shore of Sinnlos at dawn. It is late enough that only the lonely dock remains, a small monument to the horrifying maze that haunts the nights of this lake. I weave my way through the thick fog and jagged roots. I have little idea of what I'm supposed to do since Lou ran off before making any actual plans. I wander around searching for the boy. I peer across trees and rocks, but there's no trace of him to be found.
Kikka.
Oh, hello. I hear my name being called in the distance. My heart jumps. I recognize that voice. It's the icy tone of Sinnlos' only guide. I turn to see him walking towards me. It is expected that he's here. Still, this is far from the reunion I was striving for. I have difficulty not being somewhat bitter. He appraises me quietly before humming and understanding.
You came back for him.
My defenses shoot up.
How do you know about that?
His eyes bore deeply into mine, and I feel a chill down my spine. Actually, Kikka, I was already here in the woods. With Margaret, we were waiting for you. And you were just there talking to him, and he ran away, and I heard everything, sorry.
Lou is dead. He was executed.
Oh.
What?
All the air is sucked from my body. The guide offers no further explanation, and it hits me hard.
No, that can't be. You have to be wrong.
His face is scrunched up in what could possibly be sorrow as he begins to speak.
It wasn't possible for Lou to escape from what he had done. His fate was sealed. No one could save him.
What did he do? Do we get to learn that? At least it's a long breath before he continues.
That is why he told me everything.
Oh.
In case he couldn't be here himself. Lou did wait for you. He stayed for as long as he could. His death was not peaceful. However, it was proud.
Time seems to nearly stop as I sit by myself. Beside myself, with a lurching pit in my stomach, Lou is here with me, what feels like only moments ago. And now, The guide sighs melancholically.
It all feels so pointless. Still, you gave Lou something he never had. And it seems he gave you something in return. Perhaps that does have worth.
My mind is racing and my heart pounds painfully in my chest. I have difficulty believing he actually thinks that is true. It does seem as though he would like to, at the very least. I want to believe it as well. Slowly, I reach into my pocket and gently stroke the shell Lou gave me. Without another word, the guide walks off in the distance. I don't make any attempt to follow him. I finally take out the shell to look at it. Somehow I don't want him to see. It's between just the two of us. I stare at the beautiful gift, grasping it in my hands. I then turn to my eyes to look out at the lake. Hot tears pool in my eyes and start to fall down my cheeks. Things he said, why he was so willing to leave everyone behind, why he seemed so prepared to let himself die. It all became so much clearer in an instant. It truly was hopeless from the start. I squeeze my eyes shut tight and imagine his face, tracing every line, every expression and engraving it into my memory.
Lou, I'll always remember you. I won't allow what you've done to be for nothing. I promise.
I sit there for I couldn't say how long, drinking in the internal image of Lou, while vowing to never allow him to leave my thoughts. Then I open my eyes and leave this shore behind. I still find it difficult to accept Lou's cruel death. I have yet to remove the shell from my pouch. Carrying it gives me at least some comfort. That helps me continue on, despite the pain. I will not stop trying. I will still fight to protect others. Through it all, Lou will stay with me. He won't simply fade into the mist. I choose to believe that in his way, his soul can find peace. Oh, a little smile for him in the end. That was unexpectedly sad. It does seem fitting that we don't get answers, specific answers. There's a lot we get in the world building of this game that's not fully clarified. And in that way, it kind of leaves a bit of the mystery and intrigue for us to fill in the gaps of. For us, the players. And I respect that. Much as it sucks to not get the answers we were looking for. That's for us to figure. That's for us to theorize about now. And in Lou's case, at the most, what we got from him was, he had something to do with the incident in Khmer. He got looped into something, the hands of people attacking his village, and he did something unforgivable. The only thoughts I have here would be that we're missing a lot of CGs. I wonder if Lou has... Yeah, I was surprised didn't really get a Lou CG due to the others. Then again, I suppose we don't really get a happy ending of sorts. But, yeah. I suppose in his way, his whole deal with no specifics was he really had committed a serious crime and he was on the run for it. Possibly manipulated or looped into something at the hands of the brigadiers attacking Khmer. I think that's the first time we actually heard that pronounced, because I was always calling it Khmer. He had something to do, unintentionally, inadvertently, with a situation in Hemmer. Like serious treason level crimes that probably led to lives being lost, and the threat in Hemmer being serious. So he couldn't go back there, or else he'd be executed. There were people out there actually looking to execute him for what he did, and he got executed. He was always struggling with a sense of self-worth and a need to belong. And I can imagine trying to go out somewhere on his own to do something. Getting picked up by brigadiers and being cajoled into betraying the village. And now the village is under assault and needs immediate backup ASAP. And now people are out for his head because he's responsible. And now his already struggling sense of self-worth is broken, and he's on the run to either escape across the bridges or commit die. Just a complete and utter pit of despair. As it turns out, a very fitting motivation for stepping out on the bridges. Only those pure desperation seek out the bridges of Sinnlos. Those with no other choice. But Melee and Kikka had the need to protect, the urgent need to save lives, which is why they took the bridges instead of taking the long way. Margaret had the urgent need to escape from her life and find a new sense of purpose. Margaret's case was a sort of rock bottom where you might lose your job and lose your home and have no clue what you're going to do to start over. Very much a serious... I feel like calling it a midlife crisis is a bit dismissive, but a very serious crisis of purpose, so to speak. In Lou's case, he had nothing to live for. Whatever he found on the bridges, be it escape on the other side or death, he was willing to accept it. He'd all but given up. And in pulling him into our group, gave him a little bit of, I hesitate to say hope, but a little bit of faith in himself, a little bit of inner strength that he thought he'd lost. Which in the end he wound up facing up to his crimes and dying with some sense of pride. Which I suppose sucks, but if you could face the end proudly, I guess that's something, right? I might poke around a little bit to see if, like that last choice, changes the ending. But if I don't, then until next time. Until then. Thanks for watching. This is interesting. We take
Here,
the path that's
take my
normally...
lantern. Once it's scared off, we'll make our way to the shore. It shouldn't be an issue with it so close by.
I don't remember this, with the giant prowler giving us the old razzle-dazzle. This is the path where we wait and see and the guide gets attacked. He's taken a half dose of medicine. And Margaret did not make it across the narrow bridge. the one that we turn around and avoid on Bamele's good route. Guide says nothing, however he extends his hand to accept my offer. I feel my body tense for a moment before relinquishing my light to the guide. It's not much farther. I'm sure we can make it. Guide slowly steps ahead. He and the creature brace for confrontation. Lou and I stay close enough to the guide's back to keep him being left behind in the darkness.
Be ready to run. Don't get left behind.
He then darts forward and launches the light directly at the prowler. Makes a snarling hiss as it retreats defeated back into the black waters. And again, it was a long time since we last played for the first time. I think the first time we weren't on Bamele's route properly, we might have seen that. Okay, we made it. Lou stares hard at the dirt beneath him and cannot place what it is that he might be feeling, though I barely know how I feel right now. I rest there quietly for a few moments, taking time to allow my breathing and emotions to settle down. Finally, I look up from my lap and see Lou standing away from me. His gaze is empty as he stares out into the thick fog veiling the lake. As though he realized I was staring, Lou suddenly twists his view back. We look at one another for a time. I can only guess what he may be thinking. No words need to be exchanged between us. I'm glad for it, because I'm not sure I would be able to speak even if I needed to. The sound of sloshing and wood lurching captures our attention as the bridges begin to sink. In a few minutes, only the lonely dock is left. Oh, time to go.
It is time to leave this place. There is nothing left for you here.
This is a normal ending, Pat. There's a calm look on his face that there's force behind his serenity. I've seen this. We cannot submit our lives or our minds to Sinnlos. There's only one person who can help those once they are within its grasp, the guide. If you were removed, the place would be no safer. I must do if I truly want to defend others is keep them from coming here at all. Yep.
Goodbye.
His eyes narrow as he looks over at me. I begin to feel uncomfortable under his scrutiny. For a moment, I could swear I noticed him smiling slightly. However, it could easily be a trick of the morning sun. I look away to face Lou, not wanting to get caught up in this any longer. Has he disappeared? No, he's still here. He catches my eyes on him and looks back. Lou opens his mouth. However, no words come out, so he closes it again. Two of us stare each other down awkwardly. After another brief moment, he gives me a shaky smile.
Goodbye. And, thank you.
Backs away from me slowly at first, studying my face deeply one last time before turning around completely and darting into the forest. I feel so caught off guard by the action that by the time I recover, he's already gone. I recognize that he probably needs some time alone to process what happened. He's safe. He's alive. That is all that matters. Despite the firmness I so intently tried to have, my heart starts to waver. Bamele, Margaret, they're both still here. I wish to give them a proper farewell. I want to do something. My eyes begin to water and I almost turn back around. No, it is done. You remember that. They would never want me to ascribe their lives to Sinnlos. Nothing would disgrace their memory more. Keep them in my thoughts without allowing the lake to poison me. My steadfastness truly regained, I march into the light with no hesitation. Perhaps this is a truly bad ending. As she decides to not embrace her emotions in the end. This is the path where Bamele dies. And Margaret has died. When receiving payments for his services, the guide must give a full report of all those who both succeeded and failed across the lake. Name and fate of Margaret soon became known in Hamer. Added that she was an intelligent, thoughtful person and urged them to show respect for her passing. I hope that one day I will have the opportunity to go to her hometown and give my own proper respects. Lou never reappeared after walking away that morning. I do not know where he has gone. Wherever he went, I pray that he will live a safe and wonderful life. Perhaps someday we will meet once more. And the guide. I worry about when I must return home to my usual life. be difficult to continue as things were before. One thing I know for certain is that my village elder must be told that no one is to cross Sinnlos again. In the end, something will be gained, perhaps. In the end, her values align with the guide's. A normal ending, in the end. I don't know, I guess I was wishing for a bit... Like, the second half of Lou's route was quicker than I expected. Maybe I was hoping for a bit more, but I suppose... ultimately... like a lot of things in the mythology of this world that we've built and seen glimpses of, we're given just enough to give us something to think about. Establish the mysteries, but never fill in the gaps. For a short game with only fairly short game with only so much time to give us, and in what's ultimately a really tense setting where we can't just stop and talk about things. The fact that it managed to give us as much of a picture of this world as they have, it's really impressive. Gotta give credit for that. Might have had that already. That CG. Ultimately, I still feel like I've missed something with Lou, so we didn't get a proper... Like, everyone has a sort of midpoint CG and an ending CG for their routes. But not Lou. Lou doesn't get an ending CG. I wonder if that's intentional. It might be. It's hard to say. But hey. That's where we stand, right? Okay. Yeah, I think that's all we're gonna get out of this right now. I'm gonna say... there's probably other combinations that might give us the rest of these, but... I'll have to be for another video. We'll see what happens there. But for now... we have one more video planned, and that's the bonus content. Which... may as well see. 3 bonus events in total. 2 that do. The ending where Kikka crosses Sinnlos. Specific endings. Oh, we only have 1 event unlocked. Still only have 1 unlocked. Okay. We have to figure out how to get the others then. So maybe there's 2 videos. Cleaning up endings we've missed. And the actual bonus content. So until next time. Until then, we'll figure this out.